Love is one of the strangest things we'll ever experience. Everyone spends their life searching for it, talking about it, dreaming about it, yet almost nobody truly understands it. We grow up believing that one day we'll meet the right person and everything will suddenly make sense. That the loneliness will disappear, that the questions we've carried for years will finally have answers. But love was never meant to fix a life that you don't already enjoy living. It's easy to believe that happiness is waiting inside another person. You tell yourself that when someone finally chooses you, everything will feel complete. The empty days won't feel so empty anymore. The quiet nights won't seem so long. You'll finally have someone to share your victories with, someone to laugh with, someone to remind you that you're enough. The truth is, another person can add happiness to your life, but they can't become the source of it. When we expect someone else to carry our entire happiness, we place a weight on them that no relationship was ever meant to hold. Love isn't about finding someone to complete you. It's about finding someone who appreciates the person you've already become. The hardest part is waiting. Waiting while it feels like everyone else has found someone. Waiting while you watch relationships begin all around you. Waiting through birthdays, holidays, and quiet evenings where you wonder if your time will ever come. During those moments, your mind starts asking difficult questions. What's wrong with me? Why does everyone else seem so easy to love? Will anyone ever choose me? Those questions are understandable, but they aren't always truthful. Sometimes love isn't absent because you're unworthy. Sometimes it's simply because your story hasn't reached that chapter yet. Life isn't a race to find someone as quickly as possible. If it were, the happiest relationships would belong to the people who found love first. But life doesn't work that way. Some people meet the love of their life at 16. Others don't meet them until 30, 40, or even later. Neither journey is more valuable than the other. There is no deadline for being loved, and there is certainly no deadline for becoming someone you're proud of. Before you spend your life wondering who will love you, spend some time asking a different question. Do you enjoy the person you become when you're alone? Because one day, every relationship will face quiet moments. The conversations won't always be exciting. The butterflies won't always be as intense as they were in the beginning. Eventually, you'll still be left with yourself. Learning to enjoy your own company isn't giving up on love, it's preparing for it. A healthy relationship isn't built by two people desperately trying to fill each other's emptiness. It's built by two people who choose to walk through life together, not because they have to, but because they genuinely enjoy doing so. Love also isn't measured by how loudly someone says they care about you. It's measured by consistency. The small things, the text asking if you made it home safely, the conversation where they listen instead of waiting for their turn to speak. The moments where they remember the little details that everyone else forgets. Real love is often much quieter than the movies make it seem. It isn't constant fireworks. It isn't dramatic declarations every single day. More often than not, it's peace. It's feeling safe enough to be yourself. It's knowing that you don't have to pretend to earn someone's affection. The strongest relationships aren't built on perfection. They're built on honesty, on patience, on choosing each other, even on the ordinary days that nobody posts online. If you're still waiting for love, don't let waiting become your entire identity. Keep learning, keep growing, keep making memories, keep building a life that excites you, because when love eventually arrives, you won't want it to be the beginning of your happiness. You'll want it to be something beautiful that joins a life you've already learned to appreciate. And if you're carrying heartbreak right now, remember this. Just because someone couldn't see your value doesn't mean it wasn't there. Sometimes two good people simply aren't meant for the same story. Not every ending is proof that you weren't enough. Sometimes it's simply life making room for a chapter that fits you better. One day you'll look back and realize that the waiting, the lessons, the heartbreak, and the growth all shaped the person who was finally ready to love and be loved in a healthier way. Until then, don't spend your life chasing love so desperately that you forget to build a life worth sharing. Because the best relationships don't rescue your life. They become a beautiful part of a life you've already started creating. Heartbreak has a way of making time feel different. A single conversation can replay in your mind for weeks. A place you used to visit together suddenly feels unfamiliar. A song you've heard 100 times before now carries a meaning you never asked it to have. It's strange how someone can become such a big part of your routine, and then one day they're simply gone. At first, you try to hold on, you reread old messages, you wonder if there was something you could have said differently. You imagine different endings, different choices, different versions of the story where everything somehow works out, but life doesn't move backward. No amount of overthinking can rewrite yesterday. One of the hardest lessons about love is accepting that closure doesn't always come from another person. Sometimes they won't explain why they changed. Sometimes they'll leave without giving you the answers you hoped for. Sometimes you'll spend weeks searching for a reason that doesn't exist. Eventually, you realize that waiting for someone else to give you peace only keeps you trapped in the moment they walked away. Real closure begins when you decide to stop asking why they left and start asking what you've learned. Maybe you learned that communication matters more than grand gestures. Maybe you learned that being understood is just as important as being loved. Maybe you learned that you deserve someone who chooses you consistently, not only when it's convenient. Pain has a strange way of teaching lessons that comfort never could. The people who have experienced heartbreak often become more thoughtful, more patient, and more understanding of what others are going through. They know what silence feels like. They know what disappointment feels like. Because of that, they often become the people who care the deepest. One day, someone will appreciate those parts of you, not because you've become perfect, but because your experiences taught you how to love with honesty instead of fear. There's also a quiet fear that many people never talk about, the fear of never finding someone. You watch couples walking together. You scroll through engagement photos. You see friends celebrating anniversaries, and a small voice inside your head begins asking whether your own moment will ever come. It's easy to let that voice convince you that you're running out of time, but love isn't a competition. There isn't a prize for finding it first. The goal isn't to collect the earliest love story. The goal is to build the right one. Some relationships last only because two people are afraid of being alone. They stay together even when they no longer bring out the best in each other. From the outside, it looks like success. But real love isn't measured by how long something lasts. It's measured by how healthy it is. A short relationship can teach you lessons that shape the rest of your life. A long relationship can still leave you feeling unseen. Length isn't everything. Depth is. There will be moments where you question whether you're enough. Maybe someone rejected you. Maybe someone chose someone else. Maybe you gave everything you had and it still wasn't enough to save the relationship. That hurts. There's no pretending it doesn't. But another person's inability to love you the way you deserved is not proof that you are difficult to love. Sometimes two people simply need different things. Sometimes timing is wrong. Sometimes life pulls people in different directions. Not every ending needs a villain. As painful as it is, some stories simply reach their final page, and that's okay, because every ending creates space for a beginning you couldn't have experienced otherwise. The love you're searching for won't ask you to become someone else. It won't make you feel like you constantly have to earn basic respect. It won't leave you questioning your worth every single day. Healthy love brings peace more often than confusion. It gives you room to grow instead of making you afraid to change. It encourages your dreams instead of asking you to shrink them. Most importantly, it feels like coming home, not because another person completes you, but because they make you feel safe enough to be completely yourself. Until that day comes, don't put your own life on hold. Travel if you want to travel. Learn new skills. Spend time with people who make you laugh. Call your family. Take care of your health. Build a future that you're excited to wake up to every morning. Because when love finally finds you, you'll have so much more to share than loneliness. You'll share experiences, stories, growth, wisdom, a life that already has meaning. And perhaps that's the most beautiful kind of love, not the kind that saves you, but the kind that walks beside you as you continue becoming the person you were always meant to be. Sometimes we confuse being loved with being noticed. We believe that if someone gives us enough attention, it must mean they care. If they text us all day, if they compliment us often, if they make us feel important for a little while, we assume that's what love looks like. But attention is easy to give. Genuine care is much harder. Real love isn't measured by how often someone says the right words. It's measured by what they choose to do when life becomes difficult. Anyone can stay when everything is exciting. The people who truly care are the ones who stay when life becomes ordinary. The beginning of a relationship is often beautiful. Everything feels new. Every conversation lasts for hours. Every message makes your heart race. You start imagining a future before you've even had time to understand the person standing in front of you. It's a wonderful feeling, but it's also a reminder to slow down. Sometimes we fall in love with who we hope someone will become instead of who they really are. We imagine qualities that aren't there because we want the story to work so badly. Real love isn't built on imagination, it's built on understanding. It comes from seeing another person's flaws, imperfections, fears, and dreams, and choosing to care about them anyway. That doesn't mean accepting unhealthy behavior. Loving someone should never require you to abandon your own peace. There is a difference between being patient and constantly making excuses for someone who refuses to treat you with respect. A healthy relationship challenges you to grow, but it should never make you question whether you deserve kindness. One of the most important things you'll ever learn is that love without respect cannot survive. Attraction might bring two people together, but respect is what keeps them together. It's listening even when you disagree. It's apologizing when you're wrong. It's celebrating someone else's success instead of feeling threatened by it. It's choosing honesty even when the truth feels uncomfortable. Relationships don't fail because people stop feeling butterflies. They often fail because people stop choosing each other in the little moments. They stop asking how the other person's day went. They stop noticing when something feels different. They stop saying thank you for the small things that slowly become invisible. Love rarely disappears all at once. More often it fades through neglect. That's why the smallest acts of kindness can matter so much. A thoughtful message in the middle of a busy day, remembering someone's favorite song, bringing them coffee without being asked, sitting beside them in silence when words aren't enough. Those moments rarely make headlines. They don't go viral, yet they're often the memories people treasure the most years later. If you've never been in love before, don't let the internet convince you that you're behind. Everyone experiences life differently. Some people find love early and spend years learning how to keep it. Others spend years learning about themselves before someone special enters their life. Neither path is better. Both have lessons that can't be rushed. And if you've loved someone who didn't love you back, don't let that experience convince you that love itself isn't real. Sometimes we give our hearts to people who simply aren't able to hold them the way we hoped. That doesn't make your feelings foolish, it makes you human. Caring deeply is never something to be embarrassed about. The courage to love always carries the risk of getting hurt, but it also creates the possibility of experiencing something truly meaningful. One day you'll meet people who appreciate the quiet parts of you, the conversations that don't need constant excitement, the comfortable silence, the way you laugh when you're completely relaxed, the dreams you were once afraid to tell anyone about. Real connection doesn't require you to perform. It simply asks you to be honest. Until that day arrives, don't spend your time trying to become the version of yourself you think someone else will love. Become the version of yourself that you're proud to wake up as every morning. Build confidence that isn't dependent on compliments. Build happiness that doesn't disappear the moment someone walks away. Build a life that has purpose with or without a relationship. Because when love finally arrives, it shouldn't feel like you've been rescued. It should feel like you've found someone who is excited to walk beside the person you've already become. And maybe that's what love has always been, not two incomplete people trying to fix each other, but two whole people choosing every single day to make each other's lives a little brighter. There's something almost everyone has experienced at least once. Lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying conversations that happened hours, days, or even months ago, wondering if you said too much, wondering if you didn't say enough, wondering whether one small decision could have changed everything. The mind has a habit of rewriting stories after they're over. It convinces you that if you had chosen different words, acted differently, or noticed the signs sooner, maybe things would have worked out, maybe they would have stayed, maybe the ending wouldn't have hurt so much. But life isn't meant to be lived through endless what-ifs. Sometimes the ending wasn't caused by one mistake. Sometimes two people simply reached different chapters of their lives. One person kept growing in one direction while the other was moving somewhere else. That doesn't always mean someone failed. It doesn't always mean someone stopped caring. Sometimes it simply means the paths that once walked side by side eventually began to separate. That's one of the hardest things to accept. Not every goodbye happens because somebody did something wrong. Some good people just aren't meant to stay in each other's stories forever. And while that truth hurts, it also gives you permission to stop blaming yourself for every ending you've ever experienced. The world often tells us that love should feel effortless. That if you meet the one, everything will naturally fall into place. There will be no disagreements, no misunderstandings, no difficult conversations. But that's not how real relationships work. Real love isn't effortless, it's intentional. It's waking up every day and deciding that the relationship is worth protecting. It's choosing kindness when you're frustrated. It's learning how the other person feels loved instead of assuming everyone loves the same way you do. It's realizing that communication isn't about winning an argument. It's about understanding someone else's perspective without forgetting your own. The strongest couples aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who learn how to struggle together instead of against each other. They remember that it's not me versus you, it's us versus the problem. That simple shift changes everything. Because when two people stop trying to defeat each other and start trying to understand each other, even the hardest conversations become opportunities to grow instead of reasons to walk away. Of course, not every relationship is meant to be saved. Some relationships teach us something by ending. They show us what respect looks like or what disrespect looks like. They teach us which boundaries we should never ignore again. They remind us that love without trust slowly becomes exhaustion, and they help us recognize the difference between feeling attached to someone and actually feeling safe with them. Those lessons can be painful, but they're also valuable because every experience changes the way you love in the future. You become more patient, more understanding, more aware of the qualities that truly matter. You stop chasing perfection and start looking for peace. You realize that someone doesn't have to be perfect to be right for you. They simply have to make your life feel calmer instead of more chaotic. That's the kind of love worth waiting for, the kind that feels like a safe place instead of an emotional roller coaster. The kind where you don't spend every day wondering where you stand. The kind where honesty isn't scary because both people know they're on the same team. Maybe that's why healthy love often seems quieter than unhealthy love. It doesn't constantly leave you guessing. It doesn't make you question your worth every week. It doesn't disappear every time life becomes difficult. Instead, it shows up again and again and again, not through grand speeches, but through consistency. And maybe consistency has always been one of the purest forms of love. Because anyone can promise forever, very few people are willing to choose you every single day. So while you're waiting for that kind of connection, don't rush your story. Don't compare your timeline to someone else's highlight reel. Keep becoming someone you're proud of. Keep protecting your peace. Keep believing that the right people still exist, because the love you're looking for isn't just looking for anyone, it's looking for someone who's ready, and every lesson you've learned along the way is quietly preparing you for the day your paths finally cross. One of the biggest mistakes we make is believing that love is something we have to earn. We grow up trying to become the version of ourselves that everyone else will accept. We change the way we speak. We hide the parts of ourselves that feel different. We laugh at jokes we don't find funny. We stay quiet about the things that matter to us because we're afraid they'll make someone leave. Little by little, we start living for other people's approval instead of our own. At first, it doesn't seem like a big deal. You tell yourself you're just being flexible, just trying to fit in, just trying to make the relationship work. But after a while, you look in the mirror and realize you've spent so much time becoming who everyone else wanted that you've forgotten who you really are. Love should never cost you your identity. The right person won't ask you to become someone completely different just to deserve their affection. Growth is healthy. Changing your entire personality just to keep someone around isn't. The people who truly care about you won't love a version of you that only exists to make them comfortable. They'll appreciate the real you, the one who has flaws, the one who's still learning, the one who doesn't always know the right words to say. Because perfection isn't what makes someone lovable, authenticity is. Have you ever noticed how the happiest moments in life are usually the simplest? Laughing so hard your stomach hurts, watching the sunset without saying a word, sharing a meal after a long day. Walking beside someone in complete silence, yet somehow never feeling awkward. Those moments don't cost anything. They don't need expensive gifts or dramatic surprises. They only require two people who genuinely enjoy each other's company. Somewhere along the way, we've started believing that love has to be exciting every second. Social media fills our screens with perfect vacations, expensive dates, and picture-perfect relationships. But those are only snapshots. Nobody posts the quiet evenings where two people simply sit together after work. Nobody posts the conversations where they work through misunderstandings with patience. Nobody posts the ordinary moments that quietly build a lifetime together. Yet those ordinary moments are often the strongest foundation a relationship can have, because eventually every relationship becomes ordinary. The butterflies settle, life becomes busy, responsibilities grow, and what's left isn't constant excitement, it's companionship. It's having someone who still chooses to ask how your day went after hearing the answer 1,000 times. It's someone who remembers the little things because they know those little things matter to you. Real love isn't about escaping reality. It's about making reality feel a little lighter because you're sharing it with someone who genuinely cares. And if you're reading this while feeling alone, I hope you remember something important. Loneliness isn't a permanent destination, it's a season. Some seasons last longer than we'd like. Some teach lessons we never wanted to learn, but every season changes eventually. The version of you reading these words today won't be the same person a year from now. You'll meet new people, you'll experience things you can't even imagine yet. You'll grow in ways that seem impossible today. Life has a beautiful way of introducing opportunities when you've almost convinced yourself they've passed you by. So don't give up on love simply because it hasn't happened yet. Don't close your heart because someone else didn't know how to care for it. And don't believe the lie that you're somehow too much or not enough. The right people won't see your kindness as weakness. They won't see your honesty as something to take advantage of. They'll see those qualities for what they truly are: rare. The world needs more people who care deeply, more people who choose compassion over pride, more people who are willing to communicate instead of disappear, more people who believe that love is something to protect instead of something to replace the moment it becomes difficult. Maybe you can be one of those people. Maybe the greatest love story you'll ever experience won't begin with someone else. Maybe it begins the day you decide that your worth isn't determined by who stays or who leaves. Because once you truly understand your own value, you stop chasing people who only appreciate pieces of you. You begin waiting for the people who appreciate all of you, and when that day finally comes, you'll realize that love was never about finding someone to rescue you. It was always about finding someone who inspires you to become an even better version of the person you already are, and that's the kind of love worth waiting for. I want to leave you with one final thought. Love isn't something you should spend your entire life chasing. It's something you should be ready to welcome when the time is right. Don't measure your worth by who chooses you or who walks away. People come and go for countless reasons, and not every ending is a reflection of your value. Sometimes life is simply guiding both people toward different paths. While you're waiting for the right person, don't forget to keep building the right life. Chase your goals, learn new things. Spend time with the people who genuinely care about you. Make memories that don't depend on having a relationship. The more you grow into someone you're proud of, the more you'll realize that happiness was never meant to be placed entirely in someone else's hands. Here's a message that has always stayed with me. If you're constantly chasing one day, you can end up missing today. Don't let the hope of tomorrow steal the joy that's already in front of you. Appreciate the small moments. Appreciate the people who are already in your life. Appreciate the person you're becoming, because one day you'll look back at this chapter of your life and realize it wasn't just a period of waiting. It was a period of becoming. So be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself. And never let temporary loneliness convince you that you'll be lonely forever. Your story is still being written. There are people you haven't met yet, memories you haven't made yet, and moments of happiness you can't even imagine right now. Keep your heart open, keep moving forward, and keep believing that the best chapters of your life are still ahead of you. Thank you for spending these moments with me. If this message brought you even a little bit of comfort, then I hope you'll carry it with you long after this video ends. Take care of yourself, and remember, you're never as alone as you think.